if you're going to review the Blue album, you got to at least do it in the right colors. Hi everybody, this is Joshua Kirk here with you once again. And it's time for episode 106 of Album of the Day, which I'm continuing my series of throwbacks until after camp, pretty much, since I'm going to camp in a couple of weeks. But I'm here to review the debut album from alternative rock and power pop band from California that, sort of made their mark in the 90s, which is their 1994 debut. I'm talking about the band known as Weezer, which I'm here to talk about their first album. And this is technically self-titled, but it's also known by a lot of fans as the Blue Album. This is my CD copy that I have of the record. Released on Geffen Records. There's a disc and their credits over there. And, not too much going on there, but, this is, a great album. That's my CD copy of the Blue Album, pretty short there. But anyway, you may remember that not long ago, I recently did a review of Weezer's latest album, which is called the White Album, which came out in April. I reviewed that sometime around May, and I did think it was a really good album, because I love to see Weezer finally getting back to their roots and doing what made them such a great band back in the 90s. So pretty much the one that started it all is definitely this record. This record definitely is a record that I connect to for so many different reasons. I'm 15 years old, and this is a record that's definitely, I think any kind of teenager can definitely relate to, like the lyrics and sort of the angsty sort of, energy that this album has. Some very sort of clever, sort of funny, sort of nerd-friendly sort of songwriting here on this record. And I know there are lots of people on YouTube that love this record, like Anthony Fantano, aka The Needle Drop, and John from ARTV, and lots of critics that really like the record, so this is definitely considered a classic for a lot of people. Anyway, let's just talk about the record, shall we? So, the opening track on here is My Name is Jonas, of course, the classic that all the fans know and love this one, which the lyrics on this tune are, definitely pretty interesting, on here, here, but what really draws me about this track is the energy of this track. Of course it opens with that acoustic guitar intro composed by guitarist Jason Cropper, who left the band during the recording sessions, I heard, which led to Rivers Cuomo pretty much laying down the parts by Cropper that were erased from the recording. And Brian Bell just sings backup on this record. He actually doesn't play any guitar whatsoever on here, although he's credited in the liner notes playing guitar. Really nice acoustic intro, and plus I love that refrain at the end of the workers are going home. Just such a very, just a very sort of is just, very catchy and, definitely, and I think anyone who's, just happy to go home from work, can totally relate to that, the sort of, the fun sort of catharticness of, that refrain at the end. And just, great guitar solo in the middle, and some really nice harmonica at the end as well. And of course it does have Patrick Wilson just, having fun back there on the drums. And Rivers Cuomo's vocals are very sort of organic and, front and center for sure. Um, and then there's the song No One Else, where, in my opinion, sexism has never sounded as catchy as it has on this track. Basically, it's a song about this guy whose girlfriend won't laugh at anyone else's jokes or something like that. So it's definitely one of the funniest tracks on the whole album. And then of course it has that very catchy chorus and great guitar solo and all that. So definitely a great track. And then there's The World Has Turned and Left Me Here, which has some pretty catchy refrains in it. Although I still have yet to figure out really what the song's about, but I think the chorus is really catchy. Plus the refrain of "Do you believe what I see now?" That refrain is just I can't help belting it out in the car when that comes on. I like how Weezer has that sort of fun, sort of sing-along, sort of chorus sort of structure going on. So although these songs are verse, chorus, they're done really well, and they're done in a way that definitely will make you want to just, crank it up and just, sing it loud. I like records that are like that. You wouldn't worry, and you just wouldn't worry too much if people were, trying to judge you for doing it or anything like that. Because I know that, sometimes you can get caught, singing loud or, playing your music loud or, air guitar into it, guitar into it when in the car or something like that. And then next there's the classic single Buddy Holly, which of course has lyrics about, the protagonist notices some people, trying to make fun of his girlfriend, and, he he sort of is forced to, sort of stand up for that girl pretty much. And, but yet he doesn't even care what other people think or say or anything like that, so definitely a very hilarious track as well. But of course has that catchy hook that, Weezer fans all know and love, that needs no introduction. And, I remember, do you guys remember that car commercial from last year where the whole family was singing Buddy Holly? I thought that was actually a pretty entertaining commercial to see over there. And of course, it's, driven by this sort of, it's sort of a fun, party sort of song, pretty much. It's, with some just, kick-ass guitar work, as well as this really cool sort of slippery keyboard line that, occurs, that occurs at certain points in the song. And next there's the song Undone, the Sweater Song, which has this really clever sweater, unraveling metaphor going on in the lyrics. And also has some pretty unusual touches going on in it too, they're, the speaking that you're hearing at the beginning of this track, that's bassist Matt Sharp, and talking to, one of the crew members for Weezer, longtime crew members for Weezer, Carl Coach, basically are the people talking, and then there's another part where Michael Allen and then there's Carl Coach talking, so it's paired with crowd noises, pretty much. So that's where the voices you're hearing are coming from, and of course has one of my favorite hooks, as well as that classic na 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 na, which is one of my favorite heavily noted guitar riffs on here. So yeah, it's that song will pretty much get stuck in your head right from the first 5 seconds. And also it closes with an acoustic guitar and an electric piano, and has this weird little piano outro at the end, which some people assume it could be Rivers, it could be Carl Coach, it could be someone doing that piano intro, or also Brian Bell knows how to play keyboard, so who knows, he might have done it, or Patrick. So there's a lot of speculation who did that weird piano outro at the end. But like there are quite a few experimental touches going on here with the recording of this track for sure. The next one is Surf Wax America, which has some very funny lyrics about this guy who obviously takes his surfboard to work, and of course says you can take your car, and if you're out of fuel, take my board or stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely sort of a fun, sort of sunny sort of tune with some pretty with some pretty amusing and with some pretty amusing lyrics in it. And then of course it sort of sounds like pretty much a lot of other Weezer songs, but then eventually it gets slower towards the middle, and you get this drony sort of organ in the background, which you wouldn't really hear unless you listen to it with headphones, as well as these sort of harmony sort of vocals. Like I really like the way Matt Sharp's higher vocal and Brian Bell's more baritone vocal blend together. They're on the mix. Yeah. And then there's and then up next is another favorite of mine, the classic single, Say It Ain't So. I mean, that song is definitely a classic. I mean, the video's got over 30 million hits on YouTube as of right now. But this song is definitely a classic for a reason. It's definitely one of their best songs. Songs on here. The lyrics on here, while it may take time for me to try to hear what everything Rivers is saying, I do know that this song deals with issues with a stepfather and stuff like that, which not a lot of popular songs deal with family issues the way this one does, but I do think this is a great track, and I love how Rivers Cuomo's vocals, and the verses, are so claustrophobically close to the microphone on here. And then eventually it has just a rockin' chorus that I just can't help singing along to, and just, and I'm just, bobbing my head in my seat when, that chorus comes on, and it gets real epic by then. And then, of course, has that classic, Weezer guitar solo that, you pretty much can't go wrong with it, and it all just blends so well in the track. It's blah. Yeah. Like you're just enjoying it that much. And then there's In the Garage, which, I love how Rivers on this track talks about some very fond memories he has of during his childhood of, 12-sided die, and he also refers to some of the unknown, underrated members of Kiss, and also writing stupid songs and playing them on a guitar. Some pretty funny, but yet very, very, smart, sort of clever lyrics on here about basically sort of how he sort of misses how sort of, his childhood was so carefree, and of course, and he wants to go back to where people could care less about what keeps them looking on the bright side every day. So yeah, definitely a great track with some really nice with the really nice and of course the song is known for those lyrics and that hook, and also known for having some really nice harmonica at the beginning of that track. And then there's the track Holiday, which sort of goes for sort of an older sort of style. I mean, I'm hearing some doo-wop vocals on this track, as well as a guitar blended together with an organ. Like, it has kind of the Beach Boys sort of vibe to it. And I heard that this song actually does feature a vocal performance from Patrick Wilson. Like, if you listen very carefully on the bridge, the really deep, sort of untrained vocal that you're hearing is Patrick Wilson doing that. So I love sort of the Beach Boys influence going on here on this track. And it sort of comes through in the lyrics, too, wanting to go out to, wanting to go away to a place where, you can barely understand any of the words people say or anything like that. So, again, a pretty funny song. And then the closer on here is Only in Dreams, which is like an 8-minute epic. But it does manage to flow really well through its long running time. Like, I think this could be probably the longest Weezer song out there, pretty much, since most of their songs are mostly just about 3 minutes. I mean, their last full-length record, it's a pretty short record, because most of its song lasts for 3 seconds, and for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. But here, the band manages to justify its long running time, by coming up with what is by far the most, well done and melodic bass line in Weezer history. Like, Matt Sharp's bass line just sounds great on here. And then, of course, has an epic chorus and just some awesome guitar playing, during the second half from Rivers Cuomo. I mean, if you're listening to the long 4-minute instrumental part at the end and thinking, this is boring, well, then you're listening to it wrong, for sure, because this is definitely one song that definitely shows the band's really just, uncanny ability to just, jam out and still sort of engage the listener the whole time, pretty much. So yeah, definitely this record, is certainly a classic. Pretty much every song on it would definitely, pretty much every song on it is just, it's so well done, and they're just some very likable pop rock songs. Like, Weezer definitely have gone in different directions. Like, I know with their second record, Pinkerton, they went in a darker, more visceral sort of direction, and, wrote some more sort of, introspective, more heartbreaking sort of, lyrics, and even like some more frustrated sort of lyrics on there. But, I do feel like, if you want something a little more sort of, funny and clever, well then, the Blue Album will definitely have to be it. Like, I am planning on reviewing Pinkerton one day, though, because I still think that record is really good as well. These two records definitely, are Weezer's two best records, and, we hadn't really seen a stronger record after those two. We hadn't really seen much of a strong record all the way through after those two until Everything Will Be Alright in the End, or the latest Weezer album that came out recently. So yeah, if I were to rate my top Weezer albums or something like that, it'd be hard to decide between the Blue Album and Pinkerton, but I think they're both great albums, and definitely a classic. So yeah, so I don't really have much to say there anymore now. But anyway, that's my review of the Blue Album, the debut album by Weezer, and I'll see you for episode 107.